June 10th, 2019. Today is 28 years, 11 months, and 16 days since I masturbated or had an affair. That's my sobriety definition. I always claim that when I start. Not to brag, but just to say, I need to remember, because if I don't remember, I'll do it again. They say if you can't remember your last slip, you haven't had it. So it's not about a braggadocio, it's remembering. Steve, do you remember 28 years, 11 months, and 11 days ago? Do you remember that? Because I don't want to go back to that. So we're talking about bad relationships that sound like this. Now we're going to go to relationships that are even more painful that sound like this. So we fast forward. Last time we talked, I was in the first grade with Shirley. Now we're going to fast forward to the fifth grade. And by the way, every year, second, third, fourth, fifth, there was always somebody who I was glommed into. I picked somebody who I wouldn't have called it obsession back then, but I did. Like, I remember one time I followed this girl home. I mean, this was before they had stalking. This was when I was in third grade, actually fourth grade. And we went on this trip. Her name was Chris, and she sang this beautiful song. And I followed her home just to see where she lived. I trailed behind her just to see. And then I just kind of stared up at the house. I don't know what I was expecting. You're just staring. And that kind of obsession. I mean, what was a boy in fourth grade, which means you're 9, doing like that? You know, and she had no attention. This is still this. But now we're going to move to relationships that sound like this. Now we come across a girl named Susan. In the fifth grade, there was this beautiful girl named Carmen. She had dark skin, and she was starting to be a female. She started to have breasts. And nobody I'd ever seen in my age group had ever had breasts. And she had soft skin and brown eyes. And she was beautiful. And her hair was brown. And she was something that would be the rest of my life. She was short. And that appealed to me. But, you know, I could just feel this desire to go toward her. And I had no idea why. I had no idea about sex. Nothing. But she just wasn't interested in me. And so my heart got broken for the first time by Carmen. There it is, right there. But Carmen had a friend named Susan Kalinowski. And Susan noticed that I liked Carmen and that Carmen didn't like me. So she sent me a card on Valentine's Day and asked me to be her Valentine. Now here's another example where I want somebody else, but I take somebody else. Another example of how my unfaithfulness, which is one of my 2 bottom lines, no masturbation and no affairs, will play out even at fifth grade, which I'm 10 years old at this point. And I began to hang around Susan, and we'd send notes to each other, and I would obsess about Susan. And Susan was the very first person I kissed. It was actually with Susan and me and Carmen and the boy she really liked, and we were sitting behind the school playing Spin the Bottle. And we'd spin the bottle around. Whoever it landed, it pointed to, you got to kiss whoever you wanted to. Well, it became very clear that Carmen didn't want to kiss me, but Susan did. And so I kissed for the first time when I was in the fifth grade. And that was the beginning. That's when sexuality started, when there's some contact with a hand holding or kissing. That's when sexuality, teenage, adolescent sexuality starts. So it wasn't just obsession. And that relationship worked really fine until the fifth grade ended. And then, you know, we couldn't see each other in the summer. There it is. Lots of pain for the summer. Come back to the sixth grade. So my heart's all broken all summer long, and I'm dying, you know, all that codependent stuff. Oh, poor me, you know, there's nobody here for me, nobody loves me, that kind of stuff. The sixth grade, things changed a great deal. There was this really beautiful girl named Becky. And we had a classroom with a door in between it. There was an accordion door, and you could put it back and touch. And so you could talk to people. And I talked to Becky and said, would you be my girlfriend? And she said, yes. And I was thrilled because Becky was the prettiest girl in the school. She was everything I dreamed of at sixth grade, which was at 11. But I made a tragic mistake, and here's where the relationship addiction comes in. She wasn't available to me as much as I'd like because there was a wall separating the 2 classrooms. And what I did, I made a tragic mistake. I wrote a note to Diane, who sat next to me, was also pretty, but not pretty as Becky, and said, if Becky won't be my girlfriend, will you be? And that was one of the big mistakes of my life at 11, because Becky had a boyfriend. And Becky's boyfriend had a lot of friends who were real mean and nasty. And I was the new kid in the block, and they'd been there for 6 years. And when they saw that note, Diane gave the note to someone else, because she was, you know, how girls do, they talk. And so Diane gave it to Becky, and Becky gave it to boyfriends, and the boyfriends started ganging up and terrorizing me. They never actually physically beat me up, but they terrorized me. They get their bicycles. We all rode little bikes with big handlebars and little wheels, and they would gather up around me and drive me into the road. And I was so scared of them. I was frightened. That was the worst year of my life. The worst, until I lost custody of my daughter another 30 years later. That was the worst year in my life. I felt more emotional terrorism than I would feel the rest of my life. And I'm 64. And as I look back at it, what the cause of it was me. There was a flaw in my character that said somehow to me, if you can't get one female, you can get another. The message is, I've got to have a female. Now, there's a place where I learned that A, you have to have a female, and B, if you can't get the one you want, you can get somebody else. And that was from my daddy, because my daddy was cheating on my mother. Now, he didn't know that anybody knew, but that's not the point. I was learning by watching the way he treated my mother and the way he did not treat my mother with love and warmth and saying, I need a hug, I need a kiss, I need you to say that you love me. I love you. I care about you. Let me do things for you. Let me show my love to you. I want to be sexual with you. Can we do that? Can we have some alone time from the kids? Or bringing a gift, and an unexpected gift and an unexpected time for my mother. He wasn't doing loving things because he was getting those needs met other places. And I didn't know that because I didn't have any good modeling. And so I just did what I saw. That would trail with me all my life. And it wasn't like this anymore when I was lost. It was like this. It was nasty and hard. It was awful. It was painful all my life until I got into recovery. So here we are. We're now in the 6th grade. I'm not getting my butt beat physically, but I am emotionally. And it's a terrible, terrible year because of relationship and codependency problems. Next video, we'll start seeing if we can pull out of it.